Good fucking morning, god damn it. This is the first workout of the new block, so for this block, I'm continuing the top double because I think it's fairly useful. I think the top doubles, top weights, the top singles, the top doubles, I think are quite interesting. Um, I think if they're used by someone who is like disciplined with the use of them, I think they're super useful. But I can think with people, it's like an opportunity for them to kind of stroke their ego, or is a temptation to kind of proceed further than they probably should do with the block. So what I'm doing with it, and that's something I've played around with in the past, um, but what I found really useful last block was just keeping it the same. So kind of removing that, you just removing that thought process, just having a set it at 85%. So 2 at 85% should be a 7. I think a 7, or you could go for 6 if you want, but a 6 or a 7 is like a good marker for the block. I think if you just are just it's a good, like, 85% is heavy enough that from like you don't have to do much to kind of jump to doing a 1 rep. So I don't think it would take me much to transition into competition preparation from doing 85% for 2. Since you're touching heavier loads. Now, kind of what that looks like on a heavier block, I don't know. We'll kind of have to have a look at that. I'll maybe go single at 88% or something like that. But I think like 6, 7's easy enough. I don't feel it really impacts on my workout. I don't feel like it's draining my recovery. You do get used to it, but I think just keeping it like stationary was really useful last block. So that's what I'm going to do this block, or what I'm intending on doing this block. Take 85% of predicted max. I think that way it can scale. Let your down sets be the variable, and let the top end of the down sets set the tone for the next block, kind of how far they go. So reset them. So 2 at 85%, so an RP 7, and then hopefully over the block that turns into an RP 6 or an RP 5, depending on how well it's going. And then this workout, I think I'm looking at 3x6 at 75%. So around where the last block finished. So the last block will have now turned to 78, 79%, because it's all 8 rep maxes, or near enough 8 rep maxes. So I'm starting each 3x6 is slightly lighter than the heaviest week of the last block, which I think is quite good as well. I think, you know, it's an interesting one to think about, like, kind of the pacing of it. I think I would probably, in the past, probably have ramped too much. I don't know. I don't think it's wasted. I personally don't think it's wasted time spending weeks at lower RPs. I mean, the way I've typically programmed people as like a run-in, so it's like a 3, 4, 5 week run-in, and we're trying to finish. So if we're doing 8s, for example, or if we do 10s, we try and finish a 10s block at 75% parity. If we can do that, 3x10 at 75% sets a good base from which you can push on to new personal bests. 3x10 at 78% is great. Or depending on how new someone is, even 3x10s, like some of the new, it's like kind of newer lifters, I have programmed 3x10. It's 80%, and they make it fairly well. So, like that kind of process where we might typically a 4, 5, or 6 week block, we basically just start well away from that. So if the last block's 3x10 at, whatever, 9 to 10 RPE, then for a lot of the way, for the way I would program, or the way I normally program, week 1, the percentages, you're talking RPE 4 or 5, and then you're working your way up. And it's something that I have used with like tremendous success in the past. It works repeatably well. You talk a lot about building momentum in training, and I think a lot of that is giving the athlete the chance to get used to the training setup, so the week, to get used to the training week, the exercises, to give them some time in the sandbox to just look at the technique, look at the exercises, figure it out, and then as time goes on, expose it to more and more load, and to the point where you're starting to challenge it week 3, And then, I think there's two ways you can go around that. You can maybe, I think everyone needs some time in the sandbox to start, so I think that's something that everyone should look at. I really don't think anyone should start a block with like high RPEs. I think it's just not a success. It's not going to be a successful way of doing any form of training block. So, but well, anyway, it's a long-winded way of what I'm saying is I'm trying to reduce my own time of building up, because I think in my own training, I probably get to a position where I'm making progress on the top end of stuff, making progress on a top end capacity probably for two. So if I run, like typically I run a 5 or 6 week block, and I think I'm probably looking at like 2 weeks where I'm actually pushing stuff. Whereas I'm kind of wondering if I get to a position where I'm in RP8 faster, so I'm kind of looking to be an RP8 within 2 weeks. What's that look like? And then if I take a smaller increment, what's that look like? Try and get to that kind of zone, and can I live there for longer and potentially string together more progress from block to block, or do I just end up burning out faster, so I end up, instead of like a 6 week block, I end up with like 3 week blocks? I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of loading. And some of my more experienced lifters is something that I'm also looking to kind of tweak with that. Anyway, it's not really any talk about the block or the session. The session was fine. Everything was probably a little bit more difficult than I would have liked, but it was grand. I got through it. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. I just pressed the wrong button. I need to press stop.